It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hi, my name is Matt Karpe, a heavy metal author based in the UK, and you're listening to the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.
Hi guys, what's going on? Sorry there's no trailer this week, I do apologise, but it's the 60th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. 60. All the numbers. We're 60. This is the 63rd edition. I couldn't even get my numbers out, Jamie. I don't know what's wrong with this tonight, but there we are. I do believe... Oh, go away. But I do believe, Jamie, that these are the Chronicles of Matt Karpe. Is that right?
You are damn skippy, sir. They are.
Oh, lovely. So I suppose we better bring this piece in at some point tonight. So I'll get back on that road and I'll keep driving. Hit it! But shall we bring in that piece of resistance?
Oh, we definitely should bring in that piece of resistance.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Matt Karpe. Matt is an author, by all accounts. He has written a few books on KoRn and Tool, back to back, album to album, song to song. That's right, guys. He spent his time listening every single track of every single album for these two bands and reviewed the fuck out of them like an absolute champ. Matt actually reached out to us. For the first time ever, a guest actually reached out to us to ask me on the show, and we obliged. We love talking to people, making new friends, and listen to all these fascinating stories, don't we, Jamie?
We absolutely do. This is a fantastic interview. Like I said, he'd done books about Tool and KoRn. He wrote an entire book about nu metal, which, in my opinion, just makes Matt an absolute fucking champ in this world because it is the greatest music genre of all time. Let's be honest. It warped us all. If it wasn't for nu metal, I don't think any of us would like the music we did now. I think it's that gateway. It's that gateway genre. I think everyone owes a little bit of their personality to nu metal. But it's not just that. He's written books about Faith No More, and there's so many more he wants to write to come. This is just fantastic. And what I love, like you say, Matt reached out to us, but it was a pleasure to talk to him because we like to talk to people who follow their passions. The man has a passion about music and a passion about writing. Put them together and boom, a fantastic author we've got, and a huge Kiss fan, so fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe talk about the old Kiss, like bits and pieces about what any find, like the memorabilia is the word I'm looking for, and how Gene Simmons owns absolutely fucking everything. But Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Any final words?
Just a massive thank you to Matt for coming on. This was so much fun. Really appreciate it. Your story is really inspirational as well. So people, also, I'm going to say there is a challenge that I give Matt during this episode, and we'll talk about that afterwards.
Oh, keep your ears peeled, loves, but enjoy this one. Matt, thank you for taking the time out to chat to my friend. We really enjoyed every single second of it. We wish you all the best with all your writing, but I'm sure we'll keep in touch and hear about more from you in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, it's Matt Karpe. Good. How's your day?
Not much going on today. Unlike Joel, when you interviewed, I still have a day job as well, but I finished a night shift last night, so I'm now off for 12. So happy days.
What do you do?
I actually work in securities, which is actually ironic, where I write most of my books and stuff because it's quite quiet in the nights. So
there we are. Well, in that case, I'll shut the fuck up and we'll get to that very, very shortly.
Cool.
Thank you very much for doing this, my friend. Obviously, I think you're probably one of the first or second person that's ever reached out to be like, I'd like to come on the show, please.
Mm-hmm.
So, it means a lot. It really does. It's massively appreciated. So it's a fucking pleasure to have you here. Of course, you are more than welcome to say whatever you like, as long as there's no Heil Hitlers. I love Kat Von D. God, Rishi Sunak's doing a great job. I love them Tories.
No chance.
Yeah. Otherwise...
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, good. But you can swear to your heart's content as long as there's no C word. You're all good. And basically, Jamie is going to, what we call, lure you into a false sense of security where you're going to be like, oh, God, this is nice. This is nice. And then after his introduction, we're going to absolutely bombard the living fuck out of you with questions. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's fine by me. Yeah. I watched a couple of the episodes before, so I slightly know what to expect. But let's go for it.
Too
Beautiful.
kind. Go on, Jay.
Right, let's do my intro. Ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you another wonderful guest. It's been said before, and we'll say it again, that on this show we love music and we love to hear about the history of the music we love. And that's where this week's guest comes in. This week's guest is an author who has dedicated his career to deep diving into music and bands he loves, with books all about nu metal and artists like KoRn and Faith No More. Everybody, throw up your horns as we welcome you to the Chronicles of Matt Karpe.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Absolute pleasure. But as soon as you've seen a few of our episodes, then you're going to know exactly what's coming next. The biggest, most toughest question of all, my friend. How was your pandemic season, even though I know it's still kind of here-ish?
It wasn't too bad. It was strange. To be honest, I think I was one of the people at the start when it was going on in China. I didn't really believe it was as bad as they made out. And I actually said to a couple of people at work, as a joke, really, I'll only believe it if McDonald's closes. And then lo and behold, they did shut down. But I mean, I worked all the way through it. So I work in security, and based where we are, security needed to keep going all the way through. So my 4-on 4-off shift pattern, that was just like normal. And then, when I was off, I was just writing, taking my dog for long walks and enjoying not having to see anybody else on the streets. I stayed COVID clear until about 3 weeks ago. I got it for the first time 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Yep. But we're here to tell the tale. So luckily it wasn't as bad. It was basically just the flu symptoms, but it was a strange time. I mean, me and my girlfriend, we recently watched the This England program based on obviously Boris at the time, and then a lot of it is filmed inside hospitals and care homes. And my mum worked in a care home, and they was rife with COVID just over Christmas a couple of years ago. So it was a very strange time. And still, even just looking back now, I know we're kind of getting on with things as normal, but it was the weirdest time I think most of us have known.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, it was almost like The Walking Dead, wasn't it? Walking out the street, and you're like, is this or Shaun of the Dead, whichever one you prefer? It was so weird. It's just walking out going, there's no cars. It was deathly quiet. And just fully, it was odd. Or The Last of Us, more like that as well. Where you just walk around going like, where the fuck is everyone?
Yeah, so queuing up to go into Tesco as well, halfway around the car park and all that kind of thing. And I mean, I suppose the slight benefit of during work, I didn't have to leave as early because there was hardly anything on the road, so I could just have an extra 10 minutes in bed or whatever. And but no, it was a strange time. But generally, I guess my general sort of lifestyle and that remained the same in many ways.
Did you still work? Did you?
Yeah, all the way through. So didn't have no time off, and like I said, until 3 weeks ago.
Oh, mate.
There we go.
It's typical, isn't it? I love the fact you got through the entire thing. You're like, I'm one of the last. I made it through. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I always because my mum had it when I was still in the house living with them, and I never caught it. So I was obviously self-isolating for 10 days. My girlfriend, bless her, she caught it from taking one of her friends to a hospital appointment, and because we lived together, she gave it to me, and there we go.
Terrible.
Ruin the streak.
Yeah, that's it. No longer immortal.
Yeah.
So, Matt, take us back, my friend, to the days when you were a wee boy. What did a young Master Karpe want to be when he was growing up? Was it always interested in writing, or was it spaceman, train driver? I don't know.
My dad probably would have loved me to be a train driver because he's always worked on the railway. But no, I've always enjoyed writing from a very young age. I think probably up until probably 13, 14, it was always considered writing for football magazines, things like that. I used to write my own sort of match reports for, a fake result or something, and write a match report, stuff like that. But then, it was only when I was about 14, 15, it would have been 14, getting into the music and enjoying all the heavy music that I was finding and reading through KoRn, buying all the magazines and thinking, that's something I'd like to do eventually. It didn't happen straight away, but writing has always been, I guess, one of my main passion.
Did you never get in touch with these football mags and be like, guys, look what I can do?
I don't remember, to be honest. Possibly I did. I never would have heard nothing back. I can't really remember whether I did it or whether it was just for fun at the time. I guess at that age, I didn't really have any massive aspirations or dreams. I was more about I was all about listening to music and annoying teachers by not listening to them and not turning up to lessons and things like that.
Do you still follow football now?
Yeah, I still watch it. Man United. But I can say that a little bit better now because I feel that they have the right manager, right mentality, and they're finally showing a bit of fight and spirit and actually enjoying playing for the shirt, and not necessarily just for the money, apart from Ronaldo. But there we go.
Yeah.
He can go. It was good to have him back, I guess, for a little while. But no, at his age, if he wants to go somewhere and for a couple more years or whatever, let him go because we don't need him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair. I mean, I'm an Aberdeen fan, so I can't talk about anything football related.
I also follow Celtic as well, so.
Oh, for fuck! Right, okay, cool. Interview's been great. See you later. So essentially, your love of writing came from when you were writing match reports and that sort of thing. So, how did you get into the music? How did you get into the new metal and just rock music in general?
It was at school. I've told this story a few times. I'm not going to name a friend. Not that he will. We don't sort of speak anymore, but so we won't see this. But in school, so nu metal was on the rise in 99, 2000. That was the main sort of peak of the mainstream sort of popularity, and it went from there. I remember. I was never a popular kid. We had a small group. We used to just hang about and stuff. I remember this new kid. He started, and for some reason, everybody just wanted to hang around him and be his friend. Like the boys, the girls. He was just so popular, and I couldn't understand why, because I thought he was a dick, basically. Basically that. And then my best friend at the time, obviously at that age, we were sort of starting to think, hold on, that girl looks attractive, or that girl looks attractive. And he went up to this guy and said, how do you make girls sort of like you and stuff? And this guy, he must have been taking the piss, because he said, you need a fucking great or an awesome CD collection. And from there, he was just going to our nearest city in the music shops every week, buying 10, 20 CDs at a time. And his collection would grow. His attraction from the opposite sex didn't grow one bit, but he ended up obviously getting all the heavy metal CDs and stuff. And he lent me KoRn's Follow the Leader and Slipknot's debut album one day, and everything just went to the dark side from there.
Oh, mate, that Slipknot album. Oh,
I actually went with KoRn first because the Slipknot one, at that point, the sort of heaviest music I'd heard was Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, a Bon Jovi compilation, and a Manic Street Preachers album. I think they were in my mum and dad's collections. So the Slipknot one, the cover scared me a bit, 9 people with masks on. So I went with KoRn to start with. And from the very first sort of 30 seconds of the first song, I was hooked on that. And I'm probably glad I went with KoRn first. I guess generally I do, while I do like sort of like the screamier, heavier music, I do prefer something with more melody and clean vocals and hooks like that, you see. So, but yeah, Slipknot, still, that era of Slipknot. I'm not a fan these days. But that whole era of nu metal, that was what put me onto heavy music, and I still listen to it fondly today.
That's amazing. I love the idea of being like, oh, no, 9 people. No. I prefer this girl hopscotching on a cliff edge. Wonderful. Yeah. Yes, we'll have a little bit of that instead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's partly how it, again, I've always been somebody as well that's, back then as well, I would go to music shops, and because we only really had Kerrang, the weekly magazine, I didn't have Sky TV then, so I never had the Kerrang music channel or Scuzz with the music videos. I didn't have a computer at that point either, so no access to the internet. So sometimes I'd actually go to Peterborough, which is the nearest city to me, and I'd actually pick up albums based on just the album cover or some of the song titles, or even the band that. Yeah, I'd just literally on a whim, I think that looks like that could be this kind of music that I'm into. And more often than not, it was stuff that I actually enjoyed. There wasn't many that I ended up just throwing on a pile and never listening to again. That was how it worked, thankfully.
You're like the early edition of Spotify.
Possibly, yeah.
Like your own Discover Weekly, it's like,
it was. Good. Yeah, it pretty much was. But the one album, especially from back then, and there was a band called Floor, and their album's called Through the Eyes. That is still one of my favorite albums, and that was one that literally just I saw the cover and the track titles, and bought it. There we go.
You are literally the first person I've ever heard mention Floor in so many years. Payback was a tune. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, what an album that is.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was. I still listen to it a lot now, and I think I had a couple of songs on the way home this morning on the old mix. So that album itself.
Again, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I just had a ton of memories flood back to it as soon as you said that. Where I was midway through a coughing fit, so I was like, Oh, that was amazing. But obviously, you've dedicated your life to writing about music and whatnot. But did you ever want to learn to play music?
I've tried the guitar so many times, but it just wouldn't click for me. So I can play basic bits, but no, like anything to do with the proper chords, and my fingers just don't orientate like that. And so I can make a great noise with an amp fired up and everything, and basic bits, like I say, but it just never did click for me. No, so I thought I'll leave that to the professionals, and then just try and stick to sort of critical analysis and write about it instead.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I'm exactly the same.
It sucks, but yeah, it's just I'm nearly 37 now, so I don't think it's going to happen to me now. So I think that boat's gone.
You never know. Never know.
I don't think you could ever say that.
You never know.
Wait till midlife crisis, and maybe I'll try again and get a proper guitar teacher, and one more try then.
We'll be at Bloodstock Festival one year and we'll be like, I know that guy.
Yeah, can dream, I guess.
So before you started writing books, though, you worked in music journalism, is that right?
Just sort of contribution work I started off with various websites. There was a lot of, obviously they're always taking on contributors to the sites with album reviews and interviews. So I did some stuff, Australian websites, American sites, UK. And that was cool. I was getting plenty of albums sent my way. So obviously before they even came out, which was pretty cool, you get to do that. But I've always been a lover of the physical product. So buying magazines, I've always wanted to kind of see my name in print. So once the website sort of blogs and that sort of, I'd done them for a couple of years. Thankfully, I found a magazine based in the UK called Powerplay Rock and Metal, and I reached out to the editor there, and yeah, thankfully he took me on. So again, it was reviews, interviews, and that was more fun. Obviously, then I still remember like waiting for the first magazine to come out that I contributed to. Typically, I think that was I started in the November, and because of Christmas, that issue didn't come out for 2 months. So I had a whole 2 months of waiting, and then hoping I'd be able to find the magazine in my hometown. But then luckily, because I was writing for them, I got the magazine sent through the post for free. So, but it was still nice to see, when obviously they turn up and your name's there and your name's part of the sort of staff writers and stuff. And so I did that for a couple of years after that, and also Down for Life Punk and Hardcore magazine, which is another really cool one. It only comes out twice a year, but they focus on obviously all the up and coming hardcore and punk bands as well as the classic ones as well. So I think the new issue, I've actually rejoined them for next year, but the new issue is like the sort of great big feature with Bad Religion, so they get access to all the big bands. Suicidal Tendencies, Bad Brains, all that kind of thing. Both those magazines I still catch up on, and like I say, Down for Life, hopefully from February, March next year, I'll be writing for them again. So interesting to see what pieces we get to focus on.
Absolutely. I mean, we asked Joe, because obviously you've seen the interview we did with Joe McIver, and I'll ask you the same question, so I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think technology is kind of like destroying the print business? So like with magazines and that sort of thing, because I used to buy KoRn every week. I bought WWE magazine and KoRn every week. I think WWE is a monthly thing, and KoRn's every week. I used to buy them all the time, and then I just, eventually everyone weans off them. It's like, nah, and then obviously they don't exist anymore. It's mental the amount of magazines that now don't exist anymore that were massive back in the day. So like, do you feel like people want it just now, don't they? Want it now. I want to read it now, like rather than
it seems to be. And again, like I say, I like the layout of something as well. So when you're looking at it on your phone, it's all condensed and you it's also, I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you're having to swipe up constantly to read the whole article, where you can buy a magazine, it's all on 1 or 2 pages. But yeah, I can see why, and obviously the cost as well, especially now, the way things are, although I think some of the magazines were on the way out even before the pandemic, and obviously all the rising costs. But yeah, I mean, it's the new way, and I still can't get my head around these NFTs that you can now get, like the images that on blockchains that you pay this currency and you keep an image, and you're the owner of the only image of that design or whatever, but it's on your phone, and it's not the same as having it in your hand. Just like, I don't like it. So if I could, I'd still buy the magazines, but then again, for the consumer, the price of magazines, I think Metal Hammer's still going, but it's £6.99 an issue now every month.
Yeah.
And a lot of the months you don't sort of get anything free. I mean, people my age, I don't care about posters that they give away now. I don't remember the last time they gave a sort of free CD away. They used to do sort of compilations of certain bands. So £6.99 a month for that, and the magazine's a lot smaller than it used to be as well. So there is it's one of those things where, okay, you want to support these kind of things, but then obviously in terms of your own finances and stuff, sometimes you have to kind of knock the magazines on the head and like you said, stick to the websites. But the only thing I don't like about the websites is the forums. Blabbermouth is one of the worst I've ever seen for idiots in the comments section, and I was lucky enough that 2 of my books got featured on Blabbermouth, and sometimes you have to have a hard you have to sort of just block it out when you look at the comments, and especially when the new metal book was announced, and they're all sort of obviously slating new metal and stuff like that. And if I could, the physical, it's a shame, but it is what it is, I guess, in this modern climate.
Yeah, but it'd be boring if everyone was the same thing. If people want to sell new metal, fair enough, but I'm still going. It's like people who look at festivals lineups and go, "Oh, well, that's fucking shit." Don't go then.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. You're never going to please everybody. So I mean, I'll be interested to see what Download do for next year, because it's their anniversary, and I think it's a 4-day festival. It wouldn't surprise me if the usual headliners are there, like Maiden, Metallica, Slipknot, and to me that is like, what, again? But yeah, like you said, I don't have to go. I'm looking forward to Slam Dunk next year, which has got The Offspring. That's got a pretty decent lineup as well. So I fancy that one for a change next year. But yeah, if you don't like something, don't read it or don't buy it or don't go.
And also, there's a big announcement for Slam Dunk tomorrow at 5 p.m. Just to let you know.
Yeah.
Yes, this is coming out in 3 weeks' time. So everybody, this is recorded on October 26th. So there was an announcement on October 27th at 5 p.m. for Slam Dunk, and we all loved it.
Yeah. Hopefully, so I presume it'll just be some more bands announced. But I'm big on sort of the 90s punk rock, especially the American stuff. So I'm hoping that there'll perhaps be a few more of those kind of bands announced, like Lagwagon, for example. And I think the Vandals were there last year. I've never been to Slam Dunk, so obviously I missed out. So it'd be nice to see them again, perhaps.
Mad Caddies.
Yeah, anything like that. Yeah, No Effects, because I think they're finishing up next year. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they perhaps finally come back to the UK, because I haven't seen them for a few years.
I think they've played it like the last 2 years, though. But then Zebrahead did like a 7-year stretch of doing it every year. Okay. So I don't know if Effects have headlined the punk stage the last 2 years. They definitely did the last time I was there in 2019.
Okay.
Yes. And obviously 2020 didn't exist. And then I had to sell my ticket last year because of bloody travel. But this year looks fucking sick.
I think they got to do it, especially, like I say, as they're on about calling it quits next year. So get a UK tour going and have a slot there, even if it's playing just before the Offspring. It's there'll be plenty of people there for it. Because I think I saw him at Download 2000 and I'm not sure now, it's 2022 now. 2015, 2016, they headlined the second stage on a complete mud field. But it was good still.
God, Download.
That was that year. That was terrible, yeah.
So what made you want to get into journalism in the first place? Was it like we were talking earlier with when you were a kid writing your soccer write-ups?
Yeah, just so I've always, I guess, critically analysed albums and music, and the main thing was sort of writing features, I guess, and trying to get interviews with the bands that I was listening to. So the reviews, yes, that was always a given, because every magazine or website, they want people for reviewing. But it was the interviews and the features that was my main aim. So yeah, with the magazines, I had to sort of work my way up, I guess, a little bit for a few months, just prove if I was a semi-decent writer, I suppose, with the reviews, and then interviews and features followed afterwards. So yeah, that was the main part.
So I'm guessing it's your work with Powerplay and doing interviews and stuff like that that sort of helped you get that in for the interviews for your book.
Not really, actually, because the Powerplay magazine especially is such an eclectic set of genres that the magazine covers. You know, everything from hard rock to death metal, black metal, heavy metal, folk metal, folk rock. So some of the interviews I did get, it was bands that I wasn't particularly completely struck on. So I had to at least like them a little bit when it come to interviewing them and talking about the new music they were promoting or whatever. But no, the new metal books, I mean, with Powerplay, I was fortunate enough to interview Brian Head Welsh from KoRn when they released The Serenity of Suffering. So that was back in 2016. I had to fight the publisher for that because the editor, for some reason, even though the album was reviewed in the magazine by myself, he didn't feel like a feature with KoRn was a big draw these days. But luckily, I managed to convince him to let me do it. So that was still hands down the best interview I've ever sort of had. Really, I was sweating cobs by the end of it. I think we only had half an hour, but no, it was a really great chat. So for the new metal book, those sort of bands are off limits, really, especially for an unknown author. And it was basically reaching out through Facebook. Luckily, a lot of the mid-range and sort of second and third tier bands from that nu metal era, a lot of the musicians are active on there. So it was a matter of just reaching out, and if they read the message and replied, then cool. If not, then, no worries. But there is so many out there. So the nu metal book, this is the Sonic Bond, the published version, which came out in 2020. Originally, I started off on the self-publishing trail. So it was after doing the was it Powerplay? It was before Powerplay, actually. So the websites, because one of the blogs I wrote for was an American one, a lot of the music they focused on was hard rock back over there, bands who I really enjoyed. And I decided just to do a little project of my own for my first book, was to focus on these sort of bands. And again, they was easily contactable through Facebook. And I did some interviews, did the whole thing myself. Looking back at it now, it's very amateurish, obviously the layout, the design, whatnot. But it was just a nice little project that I enjoyed doing, self-published that. And then I did actually self-publish 2 versions of this nu metal book, which I like the idea of self-publishing in one sense, is in the fact that you have complete creative control. You don't have to bow to anyone if someone says, right, we need to take this out or whatever, or you need to change this, change that. It was all my own work, and I had a friend design the cover. But obviously the double-edged sword of a self-publishing is you don't have the reach for promotional materials, and you have to obviously pay for everything to be printed and everything like that. And so while it was a learning curve, but luckily, obviously, further down the line, I was able to get a publishing deal where that took a lot of I didn't have to pay for anything, of course. Basically, I just had to write the book and then they do the rest. So yeah, there is definitely pros and cons to self-publishing, but anybody that wants to do a book and they do self-publish it, I don't have no problem with that. I know a lot of people kind of look down on that kind of thing and sort of say, well, you're not a proper writer if you've done it yourself, but I don't believe that. It's if it's your own work and it's something you're passionate about, then fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. Where are you supposed to start then?
Exactly.
Not everyone's father's got a fucking publishing deal, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think Joel said. I mean, obviously he was fortunate enough to get a publishing deal straight away, but not many people are in that position where it happens. If you're lucky enough and you've got contacts perhaps from the magazine or the journalistic side, then yeah, you've got a stronger chance, but that doesn't guarantee you're gonna get a deal. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Go on, Joe.
I was going to say, especially we live in a DIY world these days. We don't get paid to interview people. We do it because we love it. But you know what? We're podcasters. We're interviewers. It's what we do. So no one pays us. That's our own back.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, there's Amazon do this thing now I've seen where you basically upload your stuff and they print it for you. They basically publish it for you. We've got a friend of the show, Hayden, that released his own comic book like that. Mm-hmm. It's a DIY world these days. You don't need people to do these things for you. So, yes, you are a bloody writer if you self-publish.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
So, wait, when you were just on about them, is that the book We Own the Night?
Well, the one I just showed?
No, the one you were referring to before about...
Oh, yeah, that was the
first
We
book.
Own the Night. Yeah, that was the first one, which, like I say, somehow it's not supposed to be, but it's still listed on Amazon. So it is one that I think if someone was to purchase it, then it is printed on order. But a couple of people that have sort of bought my last few books and they wanted to sort of go back, and I keep saying don't bother with it, but some people still do.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm going to tell you now, you'll be disappointed with it. And I don't ask for any feedback or nothing. That was just, like I say, it was the first one. And it was nice to see it in print when it arrived through the door with God knows how many copies I ordered at the time. And I did sell them all, but like I said, I didn't really bother asking for any feedback because I don't think I was hardened enough yet to hear all the negatives that may have been in there, especially about the layout and stuff like that. So no, don't buy it. you never hear a writer promote himself saying, don't buy that book.
So if we're going to go with the new reformed history of your career, you know, you decide to throw yourself in the deep end and not write about one specific band or anything. You go, do you know what? Let's tackle the entire genre of nu metal. Mm-hmm. What made you want to write a book about nu metal in the first place? Were you always interested in creative writing, that sort of thing, or was it just?
Yeah, it was partly that, and also I just got to mention him a few times, but your previous guest Joel, one of his first books was a nu metal book back in 2002, and at the time there, like I said earlier, the mainstream boom was in place, but no one knew where the movement was going to go from then on. So Joel had written a book up until 2002, basically mentioning sort of specific bands, where they might go with the next album. Obviously, little did he know at the time that some of the bands he mentioned in there, you can expect their next album to send the band global. They ended up splitting up and never released another album or something like that. So his book was written in the time nu metal was happening, and that was the last sort of nu metal book really that came out. So I decided in 2000, and this would have been about probably 2014, 15, something like that. Okay, nu metal died, it went away, but it's coming back again. So let's go back and do a book about that whole era up until its sort of demise, and when metalcore took over and bands like Lamb of God and Five Finger Death Punch and all that, they sort of replaced nu metal. So I thought, let's go back and just talk about all the bands, or a lot of the bands from back then, and then also focus on some of the newer bands coming through that are using those same nu metal aesthetics in their music now, because there's a hell of a scene coming up all over the world. I've got some great friends in Holland who at Front Street, they're a rap metal band. They're just absolutely brilliant. There's a lot of bands, of course, in America, Australia, further out in Europe as well, that consider themselves a nu metal band, but a modern nu metal band. So yeah, that was the idea. Go back, talk about the whole era there, get interviews with musicians who lived in that era, especially those that played the Ozfest festivals, for example. I was able to talk to Ross Robinson, who of course produced the KoRn first two KoRn albums, the first two Slipknot albums, the first Limp Bizkit album. And so it's more of a trip down memory lane, I guess. Hearing their stories was amazing as well. So it's all in one. So hence why they'd cut the first self-titled, the self-published versions was called Nu Metal Resurgence. When I got the publishing deal and I was able to go back and redo the book, this is now Nu Metal, a definitive guide. So, which is what I kind of feel like, or it is as best as I could do.
Amazing. Who was your favourite interviews to do then? Like, who was someone you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, I've got edema or Cold Chamber?
I did, yeah. Meigs from Cold Chamber, he's in the book. Mike from Spineshank, John's amazing band. Yes, love them. I still talk to John a lot now. Sean Glass from Soil, everybody knows Halo. John Wysocki from Stained. There was about 12 or 13. I've got the book in front of me, so I can just quickly go through. Members of Cold Chamber, Spineshank, Slaves on Dope, Stained, Snot, Taproot, Soil, Nonpoint, Alien Ant Farm, Kitty.
Kitty.
All of those. But Ross Robinson was the big interview, because I messaged him on Facebook, never heard nothing. And I think it's about 3 months later, I just got home from work, and my phone buzzed, and it was Ross. He's like, "Hey man, I'm just getting done in the studio. Give me an hour and we'll talk." And I was like, "Well, I haven't prepared nothing. I haven't prepared. I know the albums he's done, but I haven't got any idea what questions." So I was like, "Right, forget food. Let's do this." And yeah, he came through. He rang me an hour later. I think was on the phone about 3 hours. Amazing chat. Yeah. And what struck me is, because he's known for being very harsh and brutal in the recording studio, trying to bring out the best in the musicians, but going to places you shouldn't really go. But he's actually a real sensitive guy, and that was and still is my favorite chat. And so sometimes I go back in this book and just sort of look, because some of the early ideas was to just do the interviews in a question answer format, but I ended up going back and doing the whole thing as if that person was speaking rather than any input with me. So it's almost their kind of autobiographical graphical look back of being part of the new metal movement.
So, that's incredible. And the fact you got guys from Taproot and Stained is like, two incredible bands. But the interview with Ross, you said, was over the phone. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a phone.
Yeah, so that must have been the fastest writing you've ever done in your life.
It was literally just, I was just trying to just think about what to ask and just down loads and loads of questions. And luckily, he was able to give me a lot of content for each answer because, I don't know if you've had it with the podcast or something, but you can sometimes get somebody that will give really short answers and you're just like, well, what am I going to do with that? That's not going to fill up 50 or 60 words or 100 words to a page. But no, he gave me plenty of content. And luckily, as most of those bands, I think all of them were based in America, luckily, the only one I did get a phone call charge was Jared from Taproot, because again, that was a 2-hour call, but I stupidly made that call and I think my phone bill for that month was about 250 quid.
Oh, at least it wasn't this year. Could you imagine if it was like this year? Fuck.
Yeah, true. Yes. Yeah, that was a few years back now, but that was when I saw the bill afterwards and I thought, I fucking better sell these books to make that money.
But Poem by Taproot. Oh my God, what a track. Me and my sister still listen to that this day. We love it. We listen to it when we're together because it's just iconic, that song.
Yeah. First band I ever saw live, Taproot, or their gig. That was the first gig I ever went to. Taproot at the Birmingham Academy on that tour, the Welcome Tour. So that would have been 2003, 2004, something like that. Yeah.
Just out of interest, because they're one of my favourite bands of all time, who did you talk to from Kitty?
Fallon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite a good chat because she was I wanted to reach out to somebody from a female perspective because, obviously it's better now, but especially back then, heavy metal and hard rock and that was generally male dominated. So it was nice to hear from a female aspect about trying to sort of, break through, I guess, and hear about their formation and getting signed to record deals and the albums and again touring Ozfest. I think pretty much every musician I spoke to who played an Ozfest generally most enjoyed talking about hanging out with Pantera guys. Just legendary parties and chaos and carnage. The stories from Ozfest are just amazing. I mean, hilarious. Some of the pranks that went on and things like that. It's it was great to hear those sort of stories firsthand, I guess.
Amazing. I bet doing research for a book like this, so you must come up with so many surprises for you, like finding out facts you didn't know and discovering bands you either didn't know or completely forgot about.
Yeah. There was, I mean, the internet is like, obviously there's a treasure trove of information as long as you're willing to just dig all the depths to find like the tiniest, smallest, least visited websites that may have a better insight on a band than some of the bigger websites. The research is always my favorite part of writing a book, I guess. For the new metal one, I was familiar with a lot of the bands that was around that I covered because they were sort of seen on Kerrang and Scuzz. And then, like I said, those second and third tier bands who didn't necessarily get big in the UK, they perhaps missed the boat on that. But they were bands I was familiar with. So, just sort of just checking your facts, I guess, and just finding out little bits if you can. There was a few bands that I missed out on completely that in this book I was able to visit or revisit and get more information on and include them as well because they deserve to be in there. It's if you was in America back then yes, you'd have known about all these bands, but we wasn't given as much exposure than what we could have done, I guess. Yeah. It was all about the stuff that charted really back then than the stuff that some of the better music didn't chart. For some reason or another, and probably record label pushing the money they was willing to put into the bands. But it's a shame, and obviously a lot of them did sort of call it quits after one or two albums. Some of their albums they'd even get shelved and never released, which is just sad, which is another negative side of being signed to a major record label when they call all the shots. But at least the music that they have released, it's out there, and it's going to be out there for forever.
Yeah. So your next two books really piqued my interest. I love this idea. You took a deep dive into the careers of KoRn and Tool, looking at every album, every song. Where did the idea to do this come from? Because this is genius.
It's actually from the publisher. So Sonic Bond is the publisher that I'm signed with, and they have two specific series of books that they focus on. So the On Track, Every Album, Every Song is their main one. And they also have a decade series, which they basically, the writer can approach and say, if you'd like a book on this band, and obviously a specific decade. So the next book, just jumping forward quickly, that I have coming out at the end of November, is Faith No More, all about their band throughout the 90s. And the new metal one, I guess I was kind of lucky, because every so often, perhaps one or two times a year, the Sonic Bond will actually publish a non-series book as well, which is where the new metal one came in. There was the owner of the company, the editor, he had a feature in a writer magazine, which my mum actually, she subscribed to the magazine and she saw it and she showed me it. And I decided to reach out with that book, and luckily he agreed to take it on. So then when it came time, so the new metal one, like I say, was done, and he was interested to see KoRn. He wasn't familiar with many bands back then, but he knew of KoRn, Linkin Park, and Slipknot. And KoRn being the band that sort of got me into heavy music, I thought it was kind of a nice little sort of coming full circle. The first band that got me in, so let's write a book on them. Somehow, because I can read someone else's writing book magazine and spot every mistake, I can't spot my own, and somehow I missed a fucking song out. So I went back on the edits and it's in there. So whether it was a publishing error, I'm not sure. There was actually someone moaning about it on Amazon on the book review. How can this be a book about every album, every song, when he's missed a song out? But no, it wasn't on purpose. But unfortunately, it's out there now. I can't do anything about it until maybe in a few years' time we decide to go back and cover everything that's not in there. So typically, this book came out in February, a week before Requiem, which is KoRn's latest album. So that's not in there. But no, that was that's their Sonic Bond's sort of main series, and it was interesting because while I'm obviously familiar with all the album tracks of KoRn, there are a lot of B-sides. So this digs literally into all the B-sides, whether it's soundtrack songs, demos. So the Nader Mayer's Mine, their very first demo tape, that's included in the book. And then Haze, they did a song for a computer game called Haze. So anything that KoRn has done is included in there. And also mention like the covers. So I think The Devil Went Down to Georgia. That was, I think, at that point, that was the last song the band had released when this book was done. And again, so talking about research, obviously Jonathan Davis has done a lot of interviews over the years about his personal, his life, and putting his life and feelings and emotions into the lyrics and stuff. But just deep dive in the internet again and sort of looking at reading old interviews and song facts and stuff like that, and sort of acting as a critical analysis of the songs itself as well, talking about the song structures and the rhythms and the drums, the bass, the guitars, the vocals, everything. So it was good fun to do, but partly because of that one song missing, I'm a little bit sort of, that book was done and it's not one I sort of particularly look at too often, even though I sort of do have it here right now. So that's the KoRn one. But yeah, it's not my favourite one that I've done. But there we go. Maybe, like I say, in a few years we'll get a chance to go back and do another version of it, and then I'll work hard on making it better than what it is right now. Although, to be fair, a lot of people, it's got a positive ratings review on Amazon. I think, it's generally, I think it's like 4.6 out of 5, which I'm happy with based on a good few reviews. So most people seem to have enjoyed it. And then perhaps there's just that one person that's noticed that there was a song missing. So maybe it's not all bad.
No, not at all.
The Tool book must have took you years, because their songs are years long anyway.
Well, they are, yes, but there's also not as many Tool songs out there. So whereas KoRn, I focused on 13 KoRn albums plus the demo tape and all the other songs. Tool have a demo tape, and then they released Opiate, Undertow, Onima, 10,000, Lateralis, 10,000 Days, and Fear Inoculum. That's only a small handful of albums over a 20, 30-year career. Yes, the last couple of albums especially had extra long songs on them. But most of my books, I do 6 or 7 months, and that's about it. So from start to finish, 6 or 7 months. The Tool one I do, yes, I was happy with how that turned out. And this was actually the publisher's idea for me to look at Tool. So he mentioned originally, as I said, KoRn, Slipknot, and Linkin Park. And we agreed that it was to be seen how the new metal book and KoRn would fare, sales-wise. So he said, let's try something else. We'll see how that works out with the sales. And then if they've good, we'll come back to new metal at another time. And to be fair, I wanted to sort of branch out a bit. So all the new metal stuff I've done before. So me and a friend, we used to have a new metal podcast. Before I got the publishing deal, I created my own new metal zine, which sold pretty well with my own sort of I've got a little following of friends, a lot of them from America, that support me and buy everything I do. But I also felt I wanted to show that I'm not just about new metal. So the publisher actually said, would you consider doing a book on Tool? And they're definitely not a band I would have considered doing. I'm a big fan of them, actually wearing a Tool shirt as we speak. But I'm glad he did, because learning about a lot of the sort of the backstories to some of the songs, and so I had a fair bit of knowledge, but not enough to write a book off my own back. But that was really enjoyable. Some of the fact that the musicians write the music together first before Maynard, the vocalist, actually comes in with his lyrics and everything is crazy. So that's probably why he's got 2 other bands on the go, because the musicians, Danny, Justin, and Adam, it can take them 3, 4, 5 years or more to actually just write the music. And it's only when they're happy that that's pretty much the final song, that's when they hand it over, and the vocals and the lyrics are then put to it. So Fear Inoculum was 13 and a half years in the making for one reason or another. So that gap between 10,000 Days and Fear Inoculum was crazy. It wasn't necessarily all because obviously they just couldn't decide if they liked the songs they were writing or not. But they do certainly take their time. They're very methodical. But then when you do hear the finished product, there isn't another band that sounds like Tool. I think they're amazing. Money grabbing, yes. Some of the stuff they've put out the last few years, like the box sets and stuff, and the poster thing is crazy for me. The amount of bands that release specific posters for concerts now, and people will go and buy them and then sell them on for up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It's just mad because they're so limited. And Tool do that, and the fans of Tool are just rabid. They just want whatever they can from Tool, and they'll go and buy a poster for 50 quid, and then within a couple of days it's listed on eBay for 5,000. But the Tool box sets, like I say, that the original box set they put out for Fear Inoculum, they was trying to charge like $800 or $900 at concerts in America, and it's just crazy. It's, why would you do that if you want your fans to buy them? So some of their ethics, not necessarily I'm in agreement with, but the music and their musicianship is phenomenal. So I did enjoy that book, and again I've had pretty good feedback from. It's not been out too long in America, so that's where I generally seem to get the sales. So But so far, the feedback seems to be fairly positive on that. And I didn't miss a song out either.
When it comes to being money-grabbing bands, my favourite band's Kiss, so I can't really say a word on that one. I can't really.
If you've got plenty of money, I've got loads of Kiss stuff I'm trying to sell, actually, because me and my girlfriend bought a house this year. And I've got a load of action figures and all in their original boxes, and God knows what Kiss stuff. It's I'm trying to sell it, but I mean, I love Kiss. I think I'm a massive vinyl collector as well, so there's not many of their albums I haven't got on vinyl. I've got a signed Alive 2 by the band, I do love a lot of the older stuff. When we talked about me sort of first getting into music later on, when I matured a bit, I was sort of ready to then go back and listen to older stuff as well. So I'm a big fan of the 80s music, and Motley Crue as well. Love Motley Crue. And yes, Kiss, big fan. I just love everything about them. And like you said, if there's a product out there that hasn't got Kiss's name on it, then tell me, because I don't know.
So because then they release the fucking casket, they'll release anything. Yeah,
it's just mad. There's a video on YouTube of Gene Simmons doing a walk around his house with all the memorabilia. There was a program on, was it called The Toy Hunter? I think it was an American one, and Gene Simmons tasked this guy to go and find something that he didn't own already with Kiss' name on it. And he went through all these flea markets and car boots and stuff in America. And I think he ended up with 3 or 4 different things. And he was like, yeah, Gene won't have these. And of course, he went to Gene's house and he's like, here's this. And Gene was like, that's there. And he showed him the cabinet, and there it was. And then another thing. And then I think the last thing was like a great big Kiss truck or something like that. And whether it was for TV or not, of course, Gene didn't have the last one of those. And the guy wanted a certain amount of money for it, and Gene was like, no, I'm not giving you money, I'll give you this. And he gave him the signed platinum disc of a Kiss album. But it was quite a good program to watch, just obviously hunting through. I suppose America's the place to be if you want Kiss stuff, because
definitely.
It's not as readily available in the UK.
So just quickly going back onto Tool. So as you've studied Tool, you know all about them now, ready for this book. I have a slight task for you, sir. I have never been able to get into Tool. There's so much hype about them, and I just don't get it.
Okay.
Can you recommend me a couple of songs that I can check out and I can see what all the bloody fuss is about?
I mean, the early stuff was more in the alternative metal genre, so just more heavier, straightforward. Probably my favourite song still to this day is the first track on their Onima album called Stinkfist.
I think I've heard that one.
So that is like a fairly straightforward, heavy rock, heavy metal, sort of alternative metal song. I mean, there's so many really good sort of, long songs. The one that comes to my mind, which I absolutely love, was on their Fear Inoculum album, which came out a few years ago, the last album, a song called Numa. I think it's about 12 minutes long, but it's amazing. I just love it. It's not necessarily guitar and bass wise. It's not necessarily one of the more technical songs, but if you watch Danny Carey, the drummer's drum cam performance of it, the drumming is incredible. He's a mad drummer. His kit is just ginormous, but how he times everything to perfection. Even he's in his I think he's early 60s now. But he is just amazing. So Numa for a modern Tool, I guess, a modern progressive Tool, and Stinkfist for just like an in-your-face hard rocking tune.
Okay, I'm going to listen to these before we release this episode, and in the little spiel we do before the interview, I'll give my opinion, because I just need to check them out again, and I never know where to start because there's that much and then that.
I'd be interested to hear what you think, but they're off the top of my head, putting me on the spot there too. That I would say to people to hear both sides of the band. They're the songs to go and give a listen to.
Okay, I'm going to do that just for you. I'm going to do that. So obviously you've done this deep dive on KoRn and Tool. Are there any other bands you would really love to do this sort of deep dive on, or maybe even planning to do this sort of thing on?
Well, like I say, the next one out is the Faith No More Decades one, and I hope it comes out okay. I've taken a break since I've written that book, so I'm not actually doing anything at the minute, because for the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years, I've just constantly gone from book to book to book to book without a break. So I felt mentally this one got quite tough towards the end, trying to reach a word count, and the deadline was never in doubt. It was more the word count. Some, bit of brain freeze and stuff like that. But I've seen the book. It should be being printed as we speak, so I'll get my copies in the next few weeks. But seeing the template of it, it's turned out pretty well, and I think I prefer doing the decades books than I did the every song. There's so many bands I do like, but then you look at their discography and you just think, I love the Smashing Pumpkins, but to do an every album, every song of them, they've done God knows how many albums, but they're also one of the very few bands I could think of that have actually released more B-sides that are actually better than the album material. They must have, I don't know, over 1,000, 1,500 songs they've written. So imagine that being done in a book like that. That would take forever and ever. So the Decades series is definitely what I'm interested in, because with the On Track books, I also wrote them as in a biography as well. So it isn't just going from album to album talking about the songs. When it comes to the next album cycle, I talk about everything the bands were doing up until that, like touring, the recording process of the albums, who they worked with in the studio. So it's more for a fan. There's more in-depth knowledge in there than just my point of the songs. Whereas the Faith No More one is strictly a technically biographical of that whole decade. So those are the ones that I'd like to do again. I have reached out with a couple of ideas to the publisher for a next one, which he's pretty slow at responding at the minute. So that's why I'm not doing anything, but I'm sure in the next few weeks he'll come back to me and then we'll discuss what else to come. But so many bands. 9 Inch Nails, I'd love to write one on them. I'd love, in a way, to write a book on Nirvana or Linkin Park, Motley Crue, but so many people have done them before, so I've kind of got to a point where I want to try and focus on a band that doesn't have many books out, if any, of them. Because it's just another one. So that the Faith No More, for example, they've actually have one other really decent book, which was written and features interviews with the band. So I'm always going to say to people, well, go for that book because that actually features the band members. I couldn't get them involved with mine. So I'd rather just look for someone that perhaps hasn't had a book out. And the other goal is to eventually either co-write or ghostwrite memoirs as well with musicians. That would be that's probably the ultimate dream. I have actually done one, but that will never see the light of day because the musician involved can't get his backside in gear editing it. That was done 4 years ago now, I think, and it's brilliant. I read it through every so often, and it's a brilliant story, but he just can't seem to get himself together. So I think we've missed the boat on that one. I did start another one with someone, and he kind of knocked it on the head. He sort of ghosted me. So I did sort of good 3 months of work on the book. And then he decided that he would do his own podcast and tell the stories instead.
Oh, that's nice of him.
Yep. And I did have a multi-platinum selling musician want me to write his book as well. But again, he's busy with a new project. And it might happen one day, who knows? But yeah, that would be the overall goal. But it's more, I guess, you kind of got to get your name out there a bit more first. I don't know, certain bands, especially in the UK of a certain level, it might be worth it at some point, perhaps reaching out just to see if there's something. But of course, if you're the band and someone's writing your book, you want to know they're credible and, they've got a lot of books behind them to sort of think, yeah, okay, they must be fairly decent. So maybe I'm probably not at that point yet, but hopefully somewhere down the line, yeah, that's the overall goal. Not necessarily for the money. I'm not bothered about, obviously, these books. We get We get a six monthly, or every 6 months we get royalties. But it's nothing. It's not making me a full-time writer. I do it for the love of the writing. And I've always said if I just sell one copy, then I'm happy. So it is what it is.
That sounds all too familiar. If we get one listen on here, we're more than happy. Do you know what I mean? It's great though. But obviously, you're going to have setbacks. We know exactly how you feel with people being like, yeah, of course, and then nothing. We're sat here.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be things like there's going to be people giving shitty comments, but who cares? Do you know what I mean? Who really gives a shit? How is it? It doesn't change your life in any way. It's like people who. So my favorite band ever, A Day to Remember, and so first being like, "Oh my god, you listen to them? They're fucking shit." So you go, "Oh, you know what? Now you've mentioned it. You're right. I'll never listen to them ever again." Like it's fucking weird, isn't it? Like, why would you do that?
I don't know. It's too many. It's okay to give your opinions at some point, but I don't like people that will say something as if their feedback is the only feedback that matters. Like, it's just So I can imagine, for example, your new metal book, right? And someone goes, "Well, this is shit." I go, "Okay, well, let me look at your book and then we'll compare." Oh, you've not written one? Yeah. Exactly, there we are then. Yeah, I was quite fortunate with, I think it was New Metal on the Blabbermouth page when they shared the book, and then someone come out with something and someone else said, "Okay, I'm not a fan of New Metal, but this guy's written a book. What have you ever done?" I'm not, I mean, it's hard to say. It's not hard to write a book, I guess. But obviously he seeing that was like, okay, thanks, man, that's cool. But it's one of them. Sometimes you do have to kind of act a little bit more egotistical, I guess, and think, well, look at you, what you're doing there. I can see on your profile you're I don't know, mechanic or something, I don't know anything. No, mechanic's a good job because I have to use them a lot for my cars. But just you see them and you think, well, if that's your job and you're happy, fair play, man. But I'm doing this. It is what it is.
No, it's a hate on people. Just get over it. Don't worry about it. Like we said about the festival thing. If you don't want to read the book, don't read it. Nothing's going to happen. You're not going to wake up with one less finger. Just don't worry about it. People are
so wrote a book about new metal, and all of a sudden I've only got 4 fingers on this hand. What the fuck?
You've only got 4 fingers anyway, Jamie. Anyway,
shut off. You know what
I mean? So you said your first book was We Own the Nights, yeah?
We Own the Night, yeah.
But I found your debut novel called The Sound of Everything. So
how? I never actually released it. I think I just printed a couple of copies just for myself, just to sort of have a look at the layout and stuff.
Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. I Facebook stalked you, is what I did.
Right, okay. Yeah, so there will be pictures on there. Yeah, probably with a coming soon advert sort of thing, and it never did come soon. And I have got the copies. Yeah, again, and not fictional. Fiction is something again that I would like to do, but I just can't. I could tell you I've probably written 10 half novels over the years, but I can't stick with the idea. I can sort of get into it and write a good half of the book, and then afterwards I just think, no, that idea is shit. Basically, and just give up then. The Sound of Everything, that was quite a generic one, but it was told from the first person, a music memoir, I guess. Probably partly influenced by the music memoir, the real one that I wrote that will never get released. So obviously the Sound of Everything is nothing to do with that band or what that member told me about. Just my own sort of idea. But it was a rock star whose band signed to a major label. They made it big straight away. It wasn't to be expected. The second album, partly using the era of nu metal where illegal downloading came in. So the second album for this band was due to send them global. It leaked online early. They didn't get half the sales. The singer was already getting addicted to alcohol, blah, 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 goes to rehab, meets a girl, comes out. It was I feel like a slightly cool twist halfway through with basically the record label puts the protagonist on tour with another band that they don't get on with, and an accident ensues. It's a bit of it's
sounds great. I kind of want to read it.
I was about to say, I'm not just saying this because you're here. I was actually like, go on, tell me more. I want to read this.
I keep thinking about trying to read it, but again, I did get offered a couple of publishing deals on it, but it's these. A lot of people call them vanity publishers, where they actually ask you to pay some money towards the printing and everything of it. So I think they wanted sort of £2,500 towards publishing it. And I was thinking, obviously, I wasn't in the position to do it anyway. I was saving for a house and whatnot. I'm definitely not in a position to do it now. So it's one of them. Do I decide to just do it myself at some point? Or just try another publisher. But it's especially music fiction is a very niche market. There's not a massive amount of publishers out there that deal in music fiction. But I did let someone read it at my workplace, and she, in her own words, absolutely loved it. I think she read it in a day and a half. But I enjoy my books, but I'm not always the one that I can't accept praise particularly well. So I'm kind of, okay, if you say so. Let's just leave it at that, put it in the cupboard and forget about it. But
I was going to say, not to go all therapist on you, Matt, but there seems to be a lot of self-doubt I get from you. Like, come on, man, you're doing awesome.
No, I guess it's more, I'm very critical, I guess, of my own stuff. So I can make the faith no more. All done. Yep, I've gone through it all, edited, absolutely fine. But when it comes, the final product, and it's like, there'll be something I don't like or something, I don't know. I think the new metal book out of the three that I've done so far is my favourite, I guess, in every single aspect. And the Tool one, like I said, the KoRn one could have been a lot better in my own opinion. But yeah, it is one of them. I think in all aspects of life, musicians, obviously, they're always very critical of their own work and stuff. And, it's nice to hear the positive feedback, don't get me wrong. So yeah, as long as people that are picking it up are enjoying it and not demanding a refund or something, I guess that's better than nothing.
So what you should do is the ones that you're really not happy that you've half read. So that Amazon reviewer that was like, you thought that was shit, mate. Read this.
Yeah.
Let's see your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the We Own the Night, like I say, yes, that is, I think I'm thoroughly justified to sort of downplay that one. But the review system on Amazon is terrible. I mean, the Tool book lost half a star rating the other day because someone received their book damaged, and they decided to review it by giving it 3 stars. Well, you're not reviewing the content, you're reviewing the fact that Amazon sent you the book damaged.
Yeah.
And that's annoying because, you rely on the star ratings and stuff for a lot of people to actually look, oh, okay, well, if that many people have rated it and have bought it, then it must be worth picking up. Whereas obviously the more people that do that and your star rating goes down, they're less likely to just sort of want to give it a try.
Where is the best place to get your books from, Matt? Where is the best that basically you get most of the profits from? Because I don't want to go, because one of my best mates is one of the biggest Tool fans like I think I've ever known. Like I can't stand them myself, but still, he worships the ground they walk on. So I want to grab a copy, but I don't want to grab a copy where the company I'm buying it from take most of it and you get like 2p.
It's pretty much everywhere that you're going to be able to get it from now. It's all through their distribution. So Amazon is the best place. And they always have the best discounts as well, actually.
Okay.
I don't exactly know how much the Tool one is at the minute, but I think the Tool RRP it's $15.99, but most of them on Amazon from Sonic Bond, they generally charge a tenner, maybe just a little bit more from. But yeah, no, if he wants to buy it, just tell him if he wants to buy it on there and just pop a review on when he's done.
No, I'll grab it and I'll write it for you. I'll grab it and write it for you. Don't worry. I'll post it on to him.
I get a handful of complimentary copies when the books are done, which I do sell myself. Signed copies if people want them. But no, I don't have any more of the Tool ones on me. So at least with that way, I do earn a bit more money than I would through the royalty part of it. But yeah.
Awesome.
Amazon's the best way. If anyone happens to be listening to your show from Australia, there's a website called Booktopia. They're the main company over there, online bookstore. And Barnes and Noble and Walmart in America are also two of the main places that stock the books, as I've been told anyway.
That must be amazing to have your books out like worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, the worldwide distribution, like I say, with the self-publishing, you don't have that. You literally, you have the books in your hand and you sell them to people perhaps in America. So you have to obviously post them out. But yeah, with Sonic Bond, the books come out in the UK first, and then 2 months later, they come out in the rest of the world. So Tool came out in America and everywhere else at the end of September. So yeah, it's nice I don't know if there's ever been any physical bookstores they're sold in. It is generally the online bookstores of, like I say, Barnes and Noble and Walmart. But yeah, I mean, I've found websites in Japan that stock it, in Brazil, random little European countries as well. So they have, the Sonic Bond does have a good distribution side to them. So yeah, I mean, that's, as long as they're out there, that's, people can then, if they want to pick it up. Yeah, it's nice to see. Yeah, it's nice, especially when you get obviously a random person that you haven't spoken to, or they haven't seen you promoting the book. I guess that they've actually found it themselves and bought it, either put a picture up on and tagged me in it on Instagram, or have written a review. They're the nice ones to see as well, just because you actually think, oh, okay, there is actually some strangers out there that come across and want to pick it up.
I can imagine you're looking for the list of like UK, America, Australia, Nicaragua, really? Well, Trinidad and Tobago.
It'd be interesting to see the breakdown. Yeah, I don't get that. I just get a breakdown when the time comes for royalties. I just get a breakdown of sales per book. So I'm not going to ask the publisher, because it'd probably take him a long while if he was able to do it in the first place. It would be interesting. So I've had people reach out to me in various countries. And I know a lot of, especially sort of South America area, a lot of them keep asking if there's going to be one written in their own native language, because obviously their English perhaps isn't good. But again, that's, from what I've been told, it's up to a publisher in that country to reach out to Sonic Bond to say, we want to publish this book. So that's the only way that will happen. So as I didn't know that at the time, next time I'll say to him, go and find yourself a publisher. Here's the contact email. That's how it's got to be done.
Fingers crossed, sir. Fingers crossed. But no, like I said, you're absolutely killing it. And, as you said, you got this upcoming book all about Faith No More in the 90s. When did you say this is out again?
So this one in the UK, this is out at the end of November. And according to the Amazon listing in America, it's actually out on New Year's Eve over there, which
there you go.
So whether it'll be maybe a little bit later than that, I'm not sure. But yeah, originally it was supposed to be for October, but it's November the 26th, I want to say, maybe even the 25th. But it is available for pre-order on Amazon now. If you just search my name, and then all the books come up on there. But yeah, Faith No More, I love that band as well. Absolutely one of the most sort of diverse rock bands there is, that can do anything from lounge music to jazz to metal to rap rock. I love Faith No More. I'm quite excited to see how that one's turned out when the copies arrive, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Phenomenal. Before we start wrapping up, I know you said you're having a little bit of a break at the moment, so I won't ask if you've got anything coming up other than the Faith No More, but is there ideas in the back of that head of yours? Are you going, right, when I'm ready to write, this is what I'm doing?
Well, I think I mentioned a little while ago, I have reached out to the publisher about a couple of bands I'd like to do in the Decade series. So it's just a matter of waiting for him to come back to me and say yes or no. Once he says yes, or once we agree on a band, he'll send me a contract out. Once that gets signed, it's ready to rock on. And then also, like I said, February time, I think I'll be returning to the Down for Life Punk and Hardcore magazine. So that was the one I used to write for. I did put that on the back burner purely because of the publishing deal. So while I did enjoy writing for them, I think it came to the point where one issue was due when I had about a month left before the deadline of a book. So I had to sort of knock that on the head. But luckily the editor's sort of happy to have me come back. So yes, that will be something to do in the first quarter of next year as well. So yes, hopefully another book next year, a couple of magazine pieces. That'll tide me over quite nicely.
Incredible. Mr. Stevens, do you have any more questions for our illustrious guest?
I do. And of course, as you know, how this works, we know what's coming. Did you ever think that when you first started out writing your football reviews of fake games, etc., that you would be here today with a book on Tool, KoRn, One Faith No More coming out, and a whole new metal definitive book out?
Probably not, especially not under a professional publisher. Like I say, anybody can write a book if they want to, and self-publishing is a big thing now. So the new metal one, I guess that was the big one that I did myself before. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, had I not got the publishing deal, whether I would have done more books in the down the self-publishing route, or maybe it could have been one of them where some people do perhaps just think at the end, is it worth it in the end? But no, I just enjoyed writing. So whether I would have just stuck with magazines and something, I don't know. But no, I'm very fortunate. I'm very thankful to Sonic Bond for taking me on. And like I say, the books that they print, they're very professional looking. The only slight gripe is the text layout in the books, which I've mentioned a couple of times. Can we do it like this? But it's their house style. But no, I am thankful to them for the opportunities they've given me. So if Stephen Lamb happens to see this, thank you, Stephen.
Beautiful. Before we let you go, sir, do you have any plugs, websites, social medias, anything you want people to go and check out?
My Instagram is probably where I'm more active these days, mainly just for book stuff. So that is at Matt_Karpe. I'm just creating a little Wix website at the minute, which the plan is to pay the small monthly fee for a mattkarpe.com web link. So potentially, like you said, if this show's due out in 3 weeks, that mattkarpe.com might be up and running by then. And like I said, with the books, Amazon is your best bet if you're in the UK, as they offer some nice little discounts.
Absolutely love it. Matt, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on as well. It's been great.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Matt. Take care, buddy. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, ta-da. Bye.
What a phenomenal interview. I absolutely love this one.
Incredible.
And if you're one of those people in the comments and in the reviews giving him shit because he made a tiny mistake in the KoRn book, fuck you. He spent a lot of time working on that. Don't be a dickhead.
And obviously it came out just as the new album was released. So, it's obviously not going to have the latest album in either because it was timed just as that came out.
But phenomenal, absolutely amazing book. I'm going to order myself a copy of the new metal book. It is in my wish list for my Christmas. I really want to get a copy of that because it sounds like a great read. But I did mention a little challenge. And as you heard in this interview, I do not understand the fuss when it comes to Tool. People like Tool are the greatest band ever. They are technical geniuses and I love them with all of my heart and I don't get it. So I challenged Matt in this interview to give me 2 songs to listen to and he gave me Schism and Fear Inoculum and I gave them a listen. And you know what? I can appreciate what they're doing. It is technically beautiful. But by the end of the song, I was so bored. They just go on, wait. And I like prog. I like long songs, but I was just like, oh my God, is this over yet? I don't get it. God, no.
It's not for everybody.
I'll admit, it's going to sound really, really patronising, and I don't mean it in this way. But the last 30 seconds to a minute of Schism is badass. It's a really great bit of music and the vocal. It's awesome. I was like, if that was a whole song, I'd be down for that. That is awesome. But yeah, I just don't get it. I tried, Matt. I tried.
It's not for everybody, Jamie. It's absolutely fine. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat to us. We really appreciate it. We loved every second of it. And we hope that you guys enjoy listening to it as much as we did recording it.
All right. Is this thing on?
Well, howdy doody, everybody.
This is Braden Berry from Say We Can Fly, founder of Stay Cozy Clothing, your one-stop shop for the coziest, most fashionable hoodies, t-shirts, and more.
Gosh, Mickey.
That's right, folks. And we're proud to say that we are now sponsoring
the Chronicles of Podcast. Ouch.
Hosted by Tom and Jamie.
Like, you can get 10% off, man.
That's right, Shaggy. Just use the special code, The Chronicles, at checkout.
Oh, boys.